So even as a young boy, I'd say that I believe that there's more to life, more than just this life. Just the way I thought, um, you know, when I looked at things, I guess a lot of children do. But yeah, I really kind of dwelt on it. I thought about eternity. I remember there was a family that we knew. They were good family friends, and their young son, he had an accident. He fell off a horse, and he actually died. He was only 12 or 13 years old. And I remember things like that just sticking in my head. I always thought there was some kind of greater or higher power. Like, I believe in things. I remember playing Monopoly, and I'd say, okay, I need a 7, and I'd roll it, and I'd get 7, and so that kind of, I thought, oh yeah, there's something there. I had some kind of faith. So when it was presented to me that there's a God, I believed it. My parents were Christians. They believed in God. They put their faith in Jesus Christ. And I remember even at 6 years old, I heard the gospel and I responded to it simply because I didn't want to go to hell. And I responded. Just growing up in England at the time, just in the schools at the time, just exposed to a lot of naughtiness, a lot of sexual things, even at a young age. Just messing around. So that didn't really help that. But I was still a good boy. My parents, etc. We moved to the Caribbean, moved to St. Vincent, and there again exposed to a lot of bad things. I remember when I was living with my auntie, they had a couple living in their basement, and they would give me alcohol to drink, like rum, like beer. They would always be talking about a lot of sexual things. Even as young kids, we'd be going to the carnival, all very sexual. Trying to get girls and that kind of thing. So exposed to all that. Even in the Caribbean, I responded when I was about 11 or 12. I heard the gospel, and again, I didn't want to go to hell. I remember I responded, and I asked for forgiveness. But I just think all that was going on around that kind of, it didn't really help me progressing in God in any way. And as a family, we moved around a lot, so there was no stability in terms of attending a church or my faith growing. We moved again to Kuwait in the Middle East, and there again, and I say throughout school, I like school. I'd say I was one of the cool kids probably, but with that, it came like the involvement in sin, again exposed to, girls, just always thinking of like just being with girls, and it's just always on our mind, just me, myself, and then also being with my friends as well. That just kind of fueled it, so we kind of egged each other on. So that was one thing. Drinking as well, even though alcohol was illegal there, we still managed to find drink. A lot of the native guys, they would manage to smuggle like real alcohol into the country. The Muslim guys, we drink that at house parties, always drinking. We even drank ethanol. We drank cologne at one point, basically just because we wanted to drink, just crazy behavior. Began to get involved in drugs as well. Began to smoke different drugs, even drugs I didn't know existed. Hashish, began to smoke oil. Began to do butane and gas from a can. Just whatever you thought, okay, this is what we do, so this is the in thing, so we did it. Just got involved in all that. And I remember what happened as well. As a younger boy, I would say I was good at school. Even in the Caribbean, there was a thing called a common entrance, and I came 5th in the whole country. I placed like 5th and 3rd place for boys. So I was good at school. This was like, before I was a teenager. But those years, just growing up in the Middle East, just as I was involved in all these things, like, my grades, I still managed to get by, but my grades just went down. And what happened is I didn't end up getting into any of the universities I applied for. I was going to go back to England now, and I didn't get into any of the universities. Managed to get into Luton through clearing. So came back to England now. University, living by myself. Student accommodation, all that. Just felt obliged to just get involved in the student life, which was just, again, women, girls, just just doing things I never thought I'd do. Even on holidays, going to strip clubs, with my friends and things like that, and continue with drugs, alcohol, just a common thing. And that was a lifestyle really. Again, that affected my studying. One thing happened when I came back to England as well. Is I was working in a betting shop at one point, so I began to know about the horses, the dogs, and I always liked football as well. So I began to bet on football, bet on the horses, the dogs. Started off just innocent, like little bets, £1 bets here, there, and then that was one thing. But then I began to get involved in online gambling, and that's where the trouble really started, because it's not obvious what you're doing, in terms of other people's eyes, So I'm there, and I began to get very good at it. This was a probability game. I began to be able to win hundreds of pounds, in a short space of time. In half an hour, I could win a lot of money. So for me at the time, 19, 20 years old, this is a lot of money, hundreds of pounds in half an hour. With that thing, if you keep going, the longer you're going for, then the more likely you're going to lose that money. And I just got greedy. I was just obsessed with making money. I'd go back, and I just got it, became addicted really. Began to lose loads of money, lost literally thousands of pounds. I remember my mum sending me money to fly out to the Caribbean for a holiday, and I just lied and said, oh yeah, I need to do something at uni, and I used all that money, like thousands, to spend on gambling. I blew the money. The only thing that stopped me from losing more money was that there was a limit on my account that I set a long time at the start, when I didn't think it was anything dangerous. I set a £500 limit, and what happened, I lost £500 for 3 consecutive days. At the time, I'm working for less than £5 an hour, so I lost £1,500. So this is like crazy money. I'm irritable. My girlfriend at the time, I'll be irritable. People around me. If I'm chasing money, I need to get money the next day. I've lost money that day, I need to chase it the next day. I'll be irritable. I'll be like Jekyll and Hyde. Affect my personality. And so yeah, around that time, I was also, to make money, I used to smuggle cigarettes in because my contacts with the Middle East. I used to smuggle Benson Hedges cigarettes in and just sell it to people. I didn't care. Obviously, that's their health, selling them cancer. But I used to make money from that. And I remember around this time, when I had all the money problems from gambling, I also contracted shingles. It's like from the herpes virus. And I looked up about this, and I was convinced I had HIV just because of the lifestyle, like all the women. And I remember being in the shower, and I wanted to cry, but like no tears would come. I couldn't cry. I'm thinking, man, look, I've got all this. I'm in thousands of pounds of debt. I've got no money. I'm lying to get money. I've probably got HIV, and I'm like, what's going on? Anyway, I took my test, HIV test, and it was negative. And then eventually, over time, I managed to get myself back on my feet in terms of financially, and I got confident again. So I didn't really think, I need to sort myself out. Just continued on with life. And then one day I was walking along just near my university, and there was 2 people there. They were giving out flyers for a gospel concert, and they stopped me. They actually told me later it was their last flyer. They gave me this flyer. I took the flyer. I didn't want to be rude to them. I was just being polite. So I actually said, I'm looking for a church, although I wasn't. But because my mum told me when I left the Middle East to come to England, you need to find a church. So I just said that to be polite, end the conversation. I left. Some days later, I'm just walking, and I've still got this flyer in my pocket, and I pull it out and I look at it, and it just turned out, as I did that, I was near the venue. I was just near the venue of the concert. So I thought, okay, I'll go in. I walked in late, and they seated me there. I just felt out of place. I'm just trying to fit in. But one thing that stood out is that there's people doing music, there's people standing up sharing their testimonies, and they weren't professional, but there was something about them as they talked about Jesus, as they talked about their relationship with God. One lady in particular, she had put everything she had into this guy, and they broke up, left, and and then she was just talking unashamed, like how, you know, she doesn't need that man. She has Jesus now. At first I thought, like, aren't you ashamed to like share your life like that? But it's like you could just tell she was unashamed. She had Jesus, you know, and that really stood out for me. And at the end of the concert, someone stood up and they began to talk about, you know, giving your life to Christ. And one thing that stood out, he said, you know, if you were to die today, you know, where would you go? Would you make heaven? And I knew I wouldn't, you know, straight away. It just hit me in the heart. But I was fighting it. I was battling in my mind, you know, all the things I need to give up, stop doing, or how I'd have to live if I'm a Christian. I have to stop doing this. I have to do this, and I was just kind of battling it. But then he said, "Oh, maybe you once knew God, or you once were a Christian." And as he said that, you know, he said, "Lift your hand if that's you." And I'm kind of still battling there, and then my hand just went up, like just without me even knowing. My hand went up, and I looked, my hand was there, and I thought, oh man. So he said, you know, you raise your hand, and he said, okay, come forward. And I just took that step like a bungee jump, like a step of, you know, I just did it. As I got up, I just felt the relief. I knew I was doing the right thing. I went to the front. Someone led me through a prayer to accept Jesus Christ, and just the relief, like I knew I'd done the right thing. And you know, God's just changed my life. You know, I mentioned before that I'd accepted Christ before, but I think just because of, you know, just situations and just the different distractions of sin, I never really went on from there. But what happened this time, at 21 years old, I started going to the Potts House Christian Centre in Luton, and began to, you know, attend the church. You know, I began to realise a relationship with God. I experienced God speaking to me. I experienced, you know, God doing things like miracles. You know, God changed my life, set me free from my addictions. I didn't have to drink anymore. You know, I didn't, you know, I wasn't like, I didn't want to be with a woman anymore, like in that way, like, you know, just sexually, like chasing after women. You know, I just got set free from that. You know, I stopped taking drugs. I got set free from gambling. That's the one thing I was addicted to. The drugs, drinking, girls, you know, we just did that. But I was actually addicted to gambling, and God set me free from that. I was no longer compulsive gambling. Set free. Another thing He set me free from is being obsessive compulsive. Because before I used to have all these things going on in my mind, like I couldn't walk on lines in the pavement. You know, I'd have to do certain things. My mind was saying, you need to touch this thing 3 times with that hand and touch it 2 times with the other hand, and all this would be going on in my mind. Like people they wouldn't even know. Like there's certain things I'd do. I'd repeat certain things because in my mind I said, you need to do this, otherwise, you know, something bad's gonna happen to you. You need to do this, or you're gonna die, or you need to do this, or so I'd have all these sequences, things I used to drain my mind. Like, you know, good portions of the day would be spent like all these things. Okay, you need to do this. Okay, and then that would protect me for a certain amount of time until my mind would tell me, okay, now you need to do this. You need to touch this thing a couple times with your foot, and then, you know, just crazy stuff, just obsessive compulsive behavior. And after becoming a Christian, God set me free from that. I don't need to do that anymore. I'm free. Like that was just based in fear. Even after becoming a Christian, a couple times it came back, oh, you need to do this, and I was able to just say no. Like, I don't need to do that, I'm free. Whereas before, it would just control me, like, you know, for years of my life. So yeah, God just set me free. And yeah, I'm really thankful. It's given me responsibility. It's given me a new joy of peace, satisfaction. You know, I'm set free from sin. Give me responsibility. I know why I'm here. God's placed me here. Give me a destiny, give me a wife, lovely 3 children, and a desire to preach the gospel and to spread His good news to the world.